Ella es Laura Eisenhower, bisnieta del expresidente de los Estados Unidos, David Dwight Eisenhower. Ella es cosmóloga, estratega global y además nos trae un tema muy fuerte que es la teletransportación y vamos a platicar con ella de todo esto y más. Es verdaderamente muy emocionante tenerla aquí en Tijuana. I would like you to talk us briefly about your extremely scheduled path life.
Well, I started my path or mission at a very young age. I had a strong inkling of what I was here to do. I felt a strong connection to my great-grandfather and you know, his mission of creating peace and justice and freedom. You can tell in a lot of his quotes that this was really his mission and goal. Some of those goals got thwarted when he became president. And there's dangerous agendas in the works that I'm very aware of that I was recruited into that have to do with what I consider to be a catastrophic timeline. So my mission has been not only from a young age to help awaken us and reconnect us to our higher self and the planetary body, recognizing that Mother Earth and this planet is a living organism that has a will and an intention to take us to a whole nother dimension and a whole nother experience where we really experience heaven on earth. When I came across these darker agendas, my new mission became breaking free and then exposing the truth so that we may see how we're being manipulated and how our lives are being compromised, trying to shift us in an area that is not really what our highest potential represents. And so my work is about not only helping people understand the concept of unity consciousness, which is something that comes very natural, but also understanding the different agendas that are trying to steer us away from that.
When you told me about your this mission, you gave me a term which I really loved, whistleblower. Yes. Who told you, who revealed you that you are a whistleblower?
Well, I came out with an article last year that was describing an experience that I went through where I was recruited to go off-planet to an off-planet colony on Mars, the planet Mars. And this was a very sophisticated agenda. It was a part of a branch of the secret government. And the agenda is basically to create a human genome that would survive a possible catastrophe. But I was born with a mission that was so strong and grounded on keeping us here on Earth to live our highest potential that it made no sense for me to go. And as I was being invited, I started to realize that this is way more powerful and deeply rooted than just an invitation. There is actually an agenda with manipulative technologies and strong manipulations that were trying to get me to go there in a way that was very much against my will. Even though it makes sense that we would have this sort of backup plan, I realized that in the Eisenhower administration, it was set up as an alternative that started to use a lot of money and tax dollars to implement this rather than using the money to help us in our current global crisis and in restoring our planet and feeding it to a positive timeline where we can exist on Earth. And I also began to understand that some of the treaties that are of ET origin want this catastrophic timeline because it gives them the ability to control the human race. And so having that intuition and also seeing through this recruitment for what it was really representing gave me the strength and the courage to break free and stand my ground and say, I'm staying here and I'm going to live out my mission and also expose this so that we can be aware of what we need to do to redirect this money and our attention from these agendas that are fooling us into thinking that we're all going to be doomed. And even though death happens, the one thing that we shouldn't fear is death. We want to just not be controlled. To me, that is the catastrophic timeline, is when we're controlled.
That is vital. What you point out, it's vital. Do you think that this all is coming in time? Is it the time for us to awaken? Is it happening? In what degree you think that is happening to the human being?
I absolutely think it's happening. There, you know, has been a very false matrix and false system that has kept us in a state of amnesia and very disconnected from who we truly are and what our powers are really all about. It's affected our DNA, and this has been happening for thousands of years. The feminine energies have been exiled, and there's been a misrepresentation of Christ's message and a lot of different power structures that have been feeding off of this weakness. So I think everybody's really feeling this urge to break free like they did in Egypt, and it's something that is so innate in us that many are just realizing that something's wrong, because as we're feeling a natural flow coming from within, we feel an external obstacle that is wanting to stop us from this expression. And so a lot of people are coming forward now telling the truth and revealing these type of things, which very much validates the sort of experiences that people are having in this state of repression and control, and you know, this sense that we know that we're being misled as we see chemtrails and the oil spill and false flags, that everybody's really starting to realize something's going on here.
Laura, when you talk about this dangerous agenda, also you talk about a positive timeline, and what's your foresee on this agenda? What is it that you can, from your perspective and your experience and your revelations and your inner guide, what is it that you foresee to happen in these so much fearful times?
Well, the positive timeline is really realizing that we're all united. We're like a mandala. There's no real hierarchy. We're all really meant to work together like a web of life. And when we increase our consciousness and our awareness, and we really tap into the love and wisdom that we're made of, we create a higher frequency. And like the immune system of any physical body, it starts to increase. And as this awareness and this light and this love and this wisdom increases, it tends to wipe out and dislodge all these germs and all these negative agendas and all these different energies that have tried to keep us down. So when we understand that the planetary body is very similar to the physical body, and when we're in co-creation with the planetary body, together we all raise our frequencies and put an end to these negative forces that are very inferior to all that we really are.
How is it in your way and in your learning experiences, how is it that we can protect in order to make the very, very strong, permanent connection to our highest self, so none of these dangerous agendas can take us out of our path?
It's really understanding that the Christ Sophia consciousness is within us, and that the role of the Christ message was really to help us understand that that's what we're made of. They were more liberators. Christ, Magdalene were more liberators than they were really saviors. You know, saviors in the sense that they were reminders of all that we are. And the message is really that when we step into that divinity, when we really realize that we're divine beings, we can start to activate our DNA. And we do this through love, community, integrity, being a good person, caring about our planet, being guardians of the animals, caring about nature. And this frequency opens a natural stargate, which is inevitably going to be opened, and ancient prophecy has seen this. They have technologies that can open stargates and portals that aren't a part of the divine plan, and it gets very dangerous because through these technologies they're trying to play God. And some of these are being dismantled through higher races and protection, and a lot of wise, you know, the ones that are good, that are in these systems that do want to protect the human race, that are battling some of these darker folks that really want us to be led down the wrong path. So when we enable ourselves to live in this unity consciousness and think like a global family, we open this natural stargate that's going to be activated and beginning to open in this shift date around 2012. And what this does, it allows us as we awaken to receive the energies from the galactic core that are drawing this connection in, that are enhancing our experience and lifting the veils, lifting this false matrix, and also lifting the veil between life and death, so that we really do become time travelers. We really do become so in touch with our higher abilities that we journey through portals rather than go through these cycles that are connected to what I call the wheel of necessity. It connects to the zodiac, it connects to the wheel of karma, and how we've been in this gestation period, and Mother Earth is really giving birth to a whole new experience that these darker forces are suppressing. And they don't stand a chance as long as we take responsibility and we choose to really simplify this message and just know that the basic values of love, integrity, wisdom, community, and really honoring our relationships and our families, finding inner balance, eating the right food, these are the things that are going to bring us out of this. And that's why there's so much manipulation, because they choose to feed us these poisons and feed us these false fears so that we need to go and get them solved by a doctor or put our money into solutions that are really only exacerbating the problem. When we can be in communities like this and at an expo like this and in very conscious circles, we begin to see that all the power and solutions are in our hands.
You were talking very close, or probably you were already talking about your ability on teletransportation. Can you tell us about it? Because, and also, you were prepared since you were a child to certain missions and experiences that you have fulfilled. So can you tell us about teletransportation? What is it? How do you develop it? And tell us a little bit about your preparation for that.
Okay. Well, I was in a sense prepared. I had a strong, like I said, connection to Eisenhower and the Christ energy as sort of my two allies. One on the political sort of earthly realm, kind of helping prepare me to understand the current situation in relation to the military-industrial complex and the ET issue. And then on a spiritual level, I felt, the strong presence of Christ, and also the awareness that the divine feminine energies and the energies of Sophia have been very buried and forgotten. And this really connects to the planetary body. And we see that nature is being controlled and manipulated through technologies like HAARP and through, disasters like the oil spill that supposedly many insiders said were pre-planned. So as a child, I left my body for about 10 or 15 years, not completely out of it. I left enough of myself to stay anchored, but it wasn't something that I was really trained to do. It just sort of happened. There was some sort of energy, dark energy, that wanted to stop me, and there was also this guidance that I had to solve something and enter what I call the underworld and help reclaim the mother womb, which is the creative cauldron of this planet that can regenerate all life and heal all wounds. But because they have kind of sabotaged or taken control of a portion of it, what I call gatekeepers stand in the way. So my journey through traveling through portals involved clearing inorganic entities and also facing the gatekeepers that are trying to stop the feminine forces within men and women and on the planet from taking its power back in order to heal, nurture, and regenerate. And so I was kind of in a battle between these forces, and the Eisenhower energy of my ancestor helped me see this in physical terms as in reality, and then my life led me, as they had their attention on me, to really show me that these obstacles were not just energy blockages, they were actual real agendas that wanted to remove me from my path and my mission by taking me off planet. So there was sort of a spiritual journey where I was moving through different dimensions of myself and going into the cosmos and working with some of these forces to weave all this scattered, very dual forces back together again. I was also facing a similar thing on the physical realm, where the people that represented this duality and this desire to keep us out of unity consciousness were working really, really hard at removing me and many others through, this level of sabotage. And that's, whether it be smearing somebody's character, whether it be assassinating them or taking them off planet, there has been a major agenda to stop certain individuals from doing their work. And I'm still here today, and I'm still going.
And how's your agenda for the present time?
My agenda for present time has really just been to speak about this stuff and to help people understand that our physical bodies are made up of energy centers, the chakras, and then grid lines, energy lines that they use in acupuncture to activate energy flow. The planet's no different. They've been using a lot of manipulative energies and technologies and dark rituals to keep the planetary body in a negative state so that it's not able to really be in its higher state. So a lot of my work has been about clearing those centers in the planetary body as well as my physical body, and helping others understand that through simple techniques, we're able to reactivate it. And a lot of it has to do with our mind, and that's why a lot of the agendas have had to do with mind control, because the mind and our thoughts are very creative, very defeating and very sabotaging. And when we can really just step into our power and have confidence about who we are, it helps the energy flow. And when we eat certain foods, it helps the energy flow. And when we're willing to face our fears and willing to stand by our truth and fight for our freedom, those blockages are like dams that burst. And so the planetary body has needed our assistance, and this is why a big part of my message and my mission is to say, please, let's co-create. The planetary body needs our assistance. That's our mother. It's a part of who we are. The Christ Sophia energy is our divine blueprint. This is the forces that we're made of. Anything less than that is a sabotaging, manipulative energy that wants us to forget, so that we're counting on leaders that don't have our best interests in mind, that will not get us out of this problem. We have to step up and be the saviors of ourselves and the leaders, and understand that the chosen one isn't necessarily an individual. It's the wisdom and love within our own nature that's going to save the day.
Are we all human beings able to teletransport? Is it an ability that we prepare, we are born with? How can you explain this?
Well, it's very much like when we dream. We teletransport when we go to sleep at night. We go into the astral. We go into these different dimensions, and sometimes we can do it when we're awake. And it's not necessarily an ability that people want to develop, because it involves leaving one's body. And a lot of times it's a lot more important to be very grounded and anchored. It just so happened that the kind of attacks that I was receiving didn't allow me to be in my body. And in order to resolve what they were trying to do, I did something with myself while I was kind of in this state of trauma and not really able to get in. So I activated my mission while they were trying to throw me off of my mission. I made use of it by going into those energy places and healing them. So one can imagine if they're in a dream and they're lucid dreaming and they're, some dark force is chasing them, that they all of a sudden say stop. They step into their power, they wake up, and then all of a sudden those dark shadows and those monsters realize that that they're not really real. Even though they've taken physical form and they have dark agendas on this planet, I was able to sort of be a waking lucid dreamer and handle those frequencies and energies like one would when they are dreaming at night. And so everybody does have this ability. We're going to be stepping more and more into it during this shift time. But I would recommend that people stay really grounded unless they feel, when they're ungrounded, afraid. Instead of being afraid, look at the energies around you and move them out of the way, clear your space, and come back in. Because what happened was there were psychotronic weapons used on me to prepare my body to go to the Mars mission, while there was spiritual awareness in me that was preparing me to do my mission on Earth. So I had these sort of two competing forces coming at me. And what I did was I learned to clear the negatives and step into the positive power. And doing that helped clear the way so that I could actually get back in and be senior to those attacks and almost become immune to it, so that they lost the ability to have any power or control over me, to the point where I kind of exhausted them. And they left me alone after that.
Can we understand that? First, did you say psychotronic weapons?
Yes.
What is it?
It's they have weaponry that they can target an individual and put a frequency on them in their aura and almost shock them and get them off center, throw them out of their body. And so my ability to astral project or teletransport was something I was able to do as a dreamer and as a lucid dreamer, but a lot of it was inflicted on me because they made it very hard for me to be in my physical body. It's kind of like being in a situation that feels so dark and so wrong, feeling such an attack that it's easier to not be present. It's easier to just go elsewhere. And so, like I said, I made use of that journey, even though a part of it was inevitably going to happen, because my role and what I felt born to do, was to go into that dark region, what I call the underworld, and reclaim it and purify it so that it's not this dark, mysterious place that's ruled by Hades, but it's actually the mother womb and the power that we're reclaiming for ourselves, so that we can regenerate this planet without these false leaders that are making us believe that we need them, when really the true world leader is our planetary body, Mother Earth. And in connection with the Father in sacred union. It's all about, right now, the masculine and the feminine working together. And we mistake leadership for people that are misusing their power. And we really want to become leaders in our own right and be more inspired by folks that are led by spirit and led by truth, that appreciate the uniqueness within all and understand the concept of balance, equality, and justice.
Would you tell us, have you ever wondered what could it happen if you would follow that agenda of going out of the planet and go to Mars?
Yeah, I had the sense that what I went through at the thought of going to Mars it felt like death to me. I did not want to be removed from the mother planet. I had too much work to do there, and they were convincing me, oh, but it's to protect you, it's to avoid cataclysms, this is safe. And you know, a partner was sent to take me there, and I didn't realize he was sent by somebody else until way later in the relationship. So I felt this draw, like, oh, but I want to be with him. But my desire to be on Earth and my desire to stay true to my mission and my love for this planet and humanity far, far, far outweighed it. And I just did imagine, I mean, what if I was there? What am I going to do? Especially with my children, and like to go see the face on Mars for the 50th time. It's like, it just didn't make any sense to me. So there was no part of me that was considering going. I was only considering allowing myself to be recruited to such a degree that I could tell them all there's just no way, that I could actually meet the people firsthand that I was finding out about through him, and make sure that they knew that there's just no way I was going to go. So I couldn't really consider it because it's not a part of my soul code to go anywhere else but here, and to be a part of this incredible shift that we're in, that is the positive timeline.
In wisdom. Laura, what is happening in 2012 according to your wisdom, to your revelations?
Well, we've already activated what's ahead of us. We're really doing it right now. There's a lot of unity happening, a lot of consciousness coming in, a lot of truth-telling, and it's really activating a lot of change. As more chemtrails and more agendas, you know, increasing themselves in order to stop this process, you know, these two forces are sort of meeting each other. But in any story, in any situation, even in our own physical bodies, you put the good guys and the bad guys together, the good guys always win. When one's not well and the body's shutting down, it's the desire and the will to live and the will to heal is what wins. So when we really do carry that will and that intention, and we refuse to be asleep, and we refuse to allow these forces to mess with our minds and mess with our hearts and our lives, then we're carrying that same sort of healing power that our physical bodies do when they're undermined, and what heals relationships when we choose to listen and we choose to love and stay in connection rather than fight and have drama and breakups. So we have to look at life in the same sort of way. We're in relationship to the planet, we're in relationship to our physical bodies, we're in relationship to the physical earth. When we allow ourselves to act as the white blood cells and really act as the force that can create alchemy and change and transformation, we counteract all these darker forces. So 2012, even cosmically speaking, is supporting this process. The Mayan calendar even reveals that Venus transits, this process of going through the dark and back into the light like the morning and evening star does, and this whole process creates this constant regeneration and this constant rebirth. And it's reaching such a degree during this shift time, 2012, that it's able to open, like I said, this natural stargate. And nothing can stop it. There can only be forces that try and delay it or mimic it. The only real threat is something that isn't even an originator or a creator. It mimics the power of the creator through technology, which is far less superior than our consciousness. So this shift time is really about stepping into what true power really is. It's not about ego, it's not about control, it's about the power of love and the power of having balance. You know, a physical body only works when all the parts are listening to each other and working together. So when we can step away from the fears and the frequencies that want to put us all in battle with each other in competition, and we really see each other as parts of the whole, we kick out all the negative forces. And so the cosmos is on our side, the planetary alignments are on our side, and we're already starting to see the effects of this state of mind. And 2012 really represents a lifting of the veils and the removal of some of these dark agendas and these dark forces, not so much through truth-telling and exposing them, but through the frequencies being so much higher that they have nothing to thrive on because they are like parasites. And when the health of our bodies and our minds and our hearts and the planetary body is all in connection and co-creation with each other, there's nothing it can feed on anymore, because in a sense we've been feeding them by not allowing ourselves to step into who we truly are.
Before asking you about the light beings that surround you or that help you, is there something important that you have to tell us besides what we have been talking? Is there something in your agenda, your schedule, that you want to say?
Let's see. I really think it's important that we understand what these whistleblowers have to say, and a lot of times people are undermined and doesn't give anyone the chance to want to take them seriously. It's very difficult for people to take me seriously, and to just open your mind and heart and deprogram. Forget about the past, forget about the history, forget about ancestral patterns and what our parents knew and taught us and what the schools taught us. Appreciate the good parts of the knowledge, but remember that you're a unique individual. You were born with a purpose, and that purpose is to be true to who you are and to be unique and to be different than everything around you, because really what harmony is about is diversity getting along and diversity working together. So we each need to honor our differences and appreciate that it is a part of the whole. And to really open our eyes and look on the internet and investigate things like chemtrails, investigate things like HAARP, not to scare us, but to realize that when we're awake and when we have knowledge and awareness, that naturally is a higher frequency, and it starts to stop them in their tracks, because they only are in power because they're in secrecy. They're only in power because we are kept from that truth. And when we're willing to open our eyes to it, it naturally has an effect on it, because it can only work in the dark. It can only work behind closed doors. And when we decide to open them up, the light comes into them. And what we hope is that they'll join us. It's very important to have forgiveness. It's very important to understand that a lot of people are being used and manipulated. They don't know that they're doing the wrong thing. And a huge part of unity is forgiveness and compassion, and understanding that even the darkest of forces need love in order to transform, not hatred, not resentment, and not bitterness, or else we'll always stay in this game of duality. So it's just very important to just stay in a high frequency and to really understand Christ's message, Magdalene's message, as something beyond books, beyond written literature, but just the basic principle of love, compassion, forgiveness, and to treat one another the way you'd want to be treated, and to give everybody a second chance and not hold them to the past.
Laura, these times through internet and through a lot of media, we are having a boom of also messages from light, information from light, light beings revealing, ascended masters, archangels, angels, and our own higher selves that are manifesting, hey, listen to us. From this dimension, what can you say? Who is working with you, or who is manifesting to you, who has given you messages?
Well, it's really the higher Sophia energy. It's the feminine cosmic mother. And I've always been sort of a vessel for this, and it's been told to me by numerous people that have seen this connection. And in a sense, on an earthly level, I just receive just the needs of the Mother Earth and just the energies of Sophia, which connects to Mary Magdalene. It connects to Christ, and I've just been given a lot of information just through my heart, really, as a bridge between heaven and earth, about sacred union, about, you know, balancing the masculine and feminine energies, and really understanding the importance of having that alchemical marriage within our own nature in order to transform a lot of the wounds and the patterns that these archetypes that are not of that sacred union nature have done to each other, particularly the relationship between the government and the people, and certain religions, not all religions, and the people, and how that duality has created this us and them, and this need to worship and then live our lives, but never really step up into really emanating and living the message and becoming that which they already are. The followers tend to fight, but the beings and the ascended masters all love each other. They never wanted those that are, you know, serving them to not love each other and not get along or to compete. So it's really the Sophia energy, the Magdalene energy, and the Christ energy that I've been mostly working with. But yes, there are a lot of angels as well, spirit guides. I don't have them all named. I'm not much of a channeler, as much as I tend to leap out of myself and join in with things, which leaves my physical body very vulnerable. So I'm trying to stay more grounded. But yes, there's a lot of information on the internet, particularly about ETs and spiritual awarenesses, but there's something called the New Age deception, and there's also something called disinformation. So as much as we're having this incredible movement in information, there's a lot of deception as well. So one can only be warned by going inward and finding one's own truth, and then seeing after they come to a place within themselves if it complements other people's information. We have to be careful never to give ourselves so much to somebody else's information that we forget our own. And so a huge part of my message is about that inner process, and to really become the teacher and the master, and learn from there. The disinformation, the best way to tell if it's disinformation is when they start to discredit others and they start to put other people down. There's no true leader or true message giver if they're harming other people. Whether that person's good or not, it's very important that we all protect one another. So a true, even whistleblower and true spiritual being has universal love, is not trying to be singled out as being more important or special. They really do understand the power of the human spirit within all beings, and they work to raise them to all that they truly are so that we can function as one. And anytime there's some sort of hierarchy, I would be cautioned, and anytime there's, like I said, negative insults being thrown at somebody else's truths, I would be careful. But the most important thing, I think, is to just go on that inward journey, connect with one's guides, and there's angels everywhere, and there's higher races that are here to assist us, and all we simply need to do is ask for help. And we're in an incredible time. There's nothing to fear. Fear is an illusion that they're putting out there on purpose. Even though a lot of people are suffering on this planet, we have to realize that we have the ability to solve this through the higher frequencies of trust and love and surrender to the higher forces and the planetary body. And we can solve these things through that trust rather than the fear that they're trying to put on us, particularly surrounding false flags, which are false disasters that are staged, that they put in the news in order to have the leaders come and rescue the situation, when the leaders very much are behind the implementation of these plans.
All your message, all your information is like a therapy. Just by listening to you is so relieving. Can you tell us how to work our fears, how to avoid them?
Well, sometimes you have to face them, and sometimes you want to stay away from the things that can pull you into traps. Staying in one center is extremely important. That's being grounded, eating good food, connecting to Mother Earth, because that's the most grounding force that there is. When we think about it, there's a sun in the middle of the planet. It's the core, and it's a very strong force that allows us to feel within our own nature. The core of our being has a sun, and then we have our higher energies, and then we have Kundalini, and activates all our chakras, and so we have everything we could possibly need. Can you just ask me that question again, though? What's it?
How do we work on fears?
Yeah, so when we have that activation, it tends to kick out the foreign energies that are sort of manipulating us, because a true spiritual being in the true consciousness of our divine nature doesn't fear. It tends to be able to walk through it, avoid it, transform it, activate it into a much more conscious being. Every single thing, even the most evil, has a spark of light and a spark of divinity. When we choose to talk to that place in each other, instead of what we fear about each other, we illuminate that light rather than feed what we might not like. So instead of looking at each other and finding something to judge, we should look at that person and find the part of themselves that they're looking to illuminate and enhance, even though they might not realize it. And that's how we can help raise each other. To really avoid fears is to be careful of who your friends are, be careful who you associate with, be careful what groups you sign up for, and really spend a lot of time, whether it be in nature or whether it be in meditation, to understand how your body works. Our bodies hold all the wisdom. Our bodies know what it needs at all times. When we start to ignore that, we listen to somebody else's information, and we end up giving ourselves things that aren't good for us. So being in tune with what our rhythm is, even if it's different from somebody else's, we sleep when we need to, and we eat the foods that we're being called to, and we get rid of self-destructive and addictive tendencies, and we are not in denial about them, we can begin to purify the vessel. And when that vessel's purified, it knows exactly where to go, and it doesn't fall prey to these forces. And even if we do fall prey, we have to understand that there's a lesson behind it, and it's not to take us down, but just like the body, when it feels pain, it becomes a teacher. And if we could take adversity and pain and look at it as a teacher instead of something trying to harm us, then we can hear the wisdom to return to our ultimate well-being. Okay, well, this has been an amazing thing to be a part of, and the name I so connect with, and it's so a part of my message to the world as well, which is Light Without Borders. And I have a website called Cosmic Gaia 2012, and it's really to honor the multidimensional nature of our planetary body and how much it connects to all star systems and to our whole experience in our universal family, and that we're really going to start to become more and more connected with that. I'm also on Facebook, and one of my pages is The Return of the Divine Feminine, which is for both men and women, of course, and it's to really raise that power of the feminine, the birthing, the nurturing, the regenerative forces that really heal all wounds, as any mother does with her child. So